What's going on, everyone? I recently posted this photo to my Instagram as well as some Facebook groups, and I asked everyone and I said, hey, give me a guess as to how many lights you think I used to light this image. And then I shared this, which is the natural light image. And I had a bunch of people guess 2 lights, 3 lights. I even had someone guess as many as 7 lights. And the trick is that if you've been following me for a while, then you know that I don't use a ton of lights. I just try and stretch the ability of my lights to their full potential. And so I did have, I think 1 or 2 people that said, hey, this looks like 3 lights, but because we've been following you, I'm gonna guess 1 light. And that's the answer. I used 1 light to light this. And now the trick is that I didn't actually use any sort of post-production to add all of these cool colors. What I did is, this is an interesting backdrop that they had set up that I hadn't actually seen before, and it took me a while to find out what it actually is called. It's called a pillowcase backdrop, and I guess they're used a lot in photo booths and things like that. And so what it is essentially it's like a frame, and then you have, it looks basically like a pillowcase, and you just slide it over the frame. And because this pillowcase just kind of slides over the frame, one side of the backdrop of this like pillowcase is a backdrop, and on the other side is another backdrop. And so the day before, I was using the other side of this backdrop to photograph a bride. And I really liked all of the different colors, and I had it set up against a wall to where like some light was cutting through across the roof. And so it gave me this like nice, cool pattern of light. As well as some directionality and stuff like that as well. And so the next day, what I kept in mind is that I had realized that this backdrop, because it's like a cloth material, it's actually a little bit transparent. And so what I did is I specifically set up this backdrop in an area to where I could maximize my light. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to fire the flash through the backdrop because it's a little bit transparent. And what that would do is that would give me kind of this like colorful property that was on the opposite side, and shine those colors through to the backdrop that's on the opposite side. So real quick, let's jump into Photoshop and let's give a little breakdown as into how I'm maximizing the potential of this single off-camera flash. Okay, so jumping in, this is just kind of like a top-down view. And so this would be the model, who is Gabriela. So you should definitely check her out. She's an amazing photographer. I'm gonna leave a link to her in the description. But this is Gabriela. She's standing in front of this backdrop, and then this is kind of just a rudimentary thing of what direction my camera is shooting from. And so what I did is I set up the flash behind the backdrop. Because this backdrop is a little bit transparent, what this is doing is it's shining through the backdrop. And so this is the direction that the light is firing. But it's not just like just a little tiny beam of light. The light is spreading through the frame. So this is what the light is actually doing. And so once the light hits the backdrop, it's being cut down. So there's like a lot of light hitting the back, and then a little bit of light bleeds through those 2 different diffusions, because it's essentially going through the color backdrop and then the backdrop that you can actually see pointed towards the camera. Now, because of this, I knew that there would be a lot of power that's kind of getting wasted onto the edges. And so what I did is I intentionally set up this backdrop next to a wall, and this wall is white, and so I knew that this wall would actually reflect a decent amount of light as well. And so what's happening is this light is actually hitting the wall and then bouncing off of that wall and then filling in Gabriela's face. And so my light is essentially doing double duty. One, it's backlighting this backdrop, and then it's also bouncing off of the wall and hitting the model's face. Now, the reason why so many people said, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, up to 7 lights is because I specifically mentioned that I didn't add any color in post-production, and I showed them the image with just natural light. Intuitively, you would look at this and say like, okay, there's all these different colors, and so each color would need to be a separate light. And so, a little bit of a trick on my part, I didn't mention that there was like a colored backdrop on the opposite side and all this fun stuff. But it's just to show that there is a lot that you can do with just a single light, as long as you kind of stretch your creativity and figure out ways that you can have this light do double duty. And so in this specific situation, making sure that the backdrop was set up next to a white wall helped me bring a lot more potential to this scene. Whereas if it was just in the middle of nowhere, then yes, I would have had to use a separate light in order to light Gabriela. Hopefully you guys found this useful. If you want, go ahead and hop into the description and check out the link to my Patreon. I'm gonna walk through a whole bunch more images from this session, as well as other sessions, as well as walk through some before and afters and explain a little bit how I get from the raw file to the final product. So yeah, also keep around. I'm gonna have a lot more content coming to the channel. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.